Welcome to Lesson 6, Water Systems. We're going to talk some about freshwater systems. We'll do a quick introduction. We're going to talk about sanitation, dewinterization, and winterization. Some of those topics you may not need immediately, but file them away for future reference. Then we'll talk about wastewater systems, black tanks, gray tanks, and how to go about dumping tanks. Freshwater systems, a quick introduction. The plumbing in your RV is kind of like plumbing in the house, but it's slightly different. It consists of two ways for water to be distributed: going to your sinks, your showers, both inside and outside, and to the toilet. You have a city water connection. This is part of the water system where the pressure comes from the hose connected to your city water connection on the RV. Now, some of you people that have fancy water distribution systems, that same connection may have both the city water and to fill your freshwater tank, and it's controlled by a lever, so keep that in mind. The constant pressure that is created from the source water system, be it a well, county, city, or municipality, is what gives you the pressure for your water system. Freshwater tank. You fill up your freshwater tank, and then you turn on your onboard pump to pressurize your water system. So the difference in contrast here is city water connection, you get your pressure from the spigot. Freshwater tank, you get your pressure from the pump that resides in your RV. Now, not every maker model of RV has the same setup to fill the freshwater tank. Sometimes it's a lever, sometimes it's a separate connection, but keep in mind, never, ever, ever fill your freshwater tank at the dump station. Why? You never know at the spigot at a dump station what someone has used that spigot for. Think about it. If they used it to rinse their sewer hose and got poop on it, ew, gross. Do you really want to drink the water that came into your freshwater tank from someone who may have had poop on the spigot? No, you don't. So, just food for thought. Don't fill up your freshwater tank at the dump station. Next, do you drink water from your RV? There are two schools of thought here. Yes and no way. I do, and I have for the last 16 years. You just need to take some precautions. Later on, we'll talk about sanitation of your RV's water system. But first, let's look at the items I use for getting water into my RV safely. Freshwater system tools. So what do we have here? We got a handful of things on the table. So let's talk about it from top to bottom, left to right. In the middle, the white hose is a food grade hose. In the center of that is the blue water filter. To the right is a spray bottle with a bleach solution in it. The bottom half of the picture on the left is the water pressure regulator I use. To the right of that, with the yellow and brass ends, is what I use at the spigot at a campground to help the hose from kinking when being bent possibly at 90 degrees as the hose goes from the spigot to the ground. Below, with the orange on it in the middle, that is what I use to fill my freshwater tank. It fits in there nicely, has its own cutoff. Now back to keep in mind, depending on your RV and how you fill your freshwater tank, you may not need one of those. Finally, at the bottom of the picture is a 90-degree copper brass elbow that gets hooked up to my city water connection, and it's another device to help keep the hose from taking a 90-degree bend and possibly cutting off the water going in. Now, the bleach water solution up there in the upper right, what's that for? I use it to spray the spigot and all of my connections. It's a 32-ounce spray bottle. You put 1/4 teaspoon of bleach to 32 ounces of water. If you happen to have a 20-ounce spray bottle, it's 1/8 of a teaspoon of bleach to 20 ounces of water. I literally spray off everything that's being connected together, each end of it. The hose, all of my connections, my water pressure regulator, all of it. Freshwater systems sanitation. Let's talk about how to sanitize your water system. You can see Chapter 15, Preventive Maintenance, Section 11 for prep work and details in the book RVing for Newbies. Basically, you need to use 1/4 cup of household bleach for every 15 gallons of water that your freshwater tank will hold. Mix the bleach with water into a 1-gallon container and pour it into the freshwater holding tank. Do this as many times as needed for each 15 gallons of water that your freshwater tank will hold. For example, if your freshwater tank is 45 gallons, do this 3 times. You will want a funnel to pour this into your freshwater tank opening. If you have one of those water systems, you may be able to have it pumped in automatically. It all depends on your particular system as to how you're going to get it in there. Continuing on a sanitation topic, fill the rest of the freshwater tank with regular tap water using a food-grade hose, not your normal run-of-the-mill garden hose. Turn the water pump on, open all hot and cold faucets, and run the water until you smell the bleach at each faucet. Close the faucets. Let it sit for 12 hours. At the end of the 12 hours, you can drain the entire system again and refill the freshwater tank with potable water. Open all the faucets and run the water until you no longer smell any bleach. It may be necessary to repeat this process again to eliminate all signs of bleach from the water system. Once all done and you don't smell any more bleach, you're almost there. Turn off the water pump, open a faucet to relieve any water pressure from the lines. Remove the water filter container if you have one of those external water filters. Put the water filter back on and put its holder back on. Take your water heater off bypass. You're now good to go. Turn your water pump back on or drain it if you're going to use city water connection. Make sure to fill your water heater now, unless of course you have a tankless, then you can disregard the filling concept and go RVing. Now, how often should you be doing this? I do it twice a year. So that's just something to keep in mind. When I open it in the winter after dewinterizing, I sanitize and then about halfway through the year. Freshwater systems, we're going to talk about dewinterization. Assuming your RV was winterized by putting the pink stuff, also known as RV antifreeze, through the pump into all of your water lines, let's get rid of that stuff. Keeping in mind, this is not like the antifreeze in the radiator of your car. This stuff is safe to dump on the ground, water it down. Trust me, I've tasted this stuff. It does not taste good. So you want to get it out of your water system. Add water to your freshwater tank. You don't need a lot, just enough to run all the faucets. I do about a half a tank. Notice we're doing nothing here with the water heater. Assuming winterization was done correctly, it is on bypass and no pink stuff is in there anyway. Assuming you have a tank type water heater. If you have tankless, make sure to check your owner's manual. Continuing dewinterization, turn on the water pump, go through each faucet, both hot and cold, and run it until the pink stuff doesn't show anymore and it runs clear. Don't forget your outside kitchen, showers. If you have an ice maker, you need to look in your owner's manual how to deal with that, as well as if you have a washing machine. Once you've done all of that, everything is running with plain water, it's time to sanitize the system, which we already talked about in previous slides. Freshwater system winterization. So, if you live like where I do, I'm in Ohio, it gets cold in the winter. We have to winterize my RV. So it's getting cold. Let's talk about the winterization of your RV's water system. Question, when should I winterize? Answer, here's my take. As a 16-year RV owner, I will call it quits and winterize once the wind chill gets to 28 degrees Fahrenheit, or an ambient temperature of 30 degrees Fahrenheit, or less for more than 5 hours, unless, of course, you have tank heaters. First off, take an inventory of everything that uses water, as you will want to do some prep work. Things that you're going to want to look for. Most common stuff in an RV, bathrooms, of course, the sinks, your freshwater tank, an indoor shower, kitchen sink indoor, your toilets, water faucets, water heater, water pump. And not as common on some RVs, but some have dishwashers, an ice machine in the freezer, a kitchen sink outdoor, your outdoor shower, a washing machine, a water faucet at your refrigerator, and a water filter, an onboard one, and possibly one that's in your refrigerator. You have to determine how you want to winterize. I recommend using the RV antifreeze method. You can buy it at Walmart, almost any RV dealership, and on Amazon. Let's talk a little bit about the RV antifreeze. It is not poisonous. I taste it on a regular basis when people ask me to help them winterize their RV. Does it taste good? No way. It tastes awful. But I also do it for the shock value to show you it's not going to poison you. Whatever RV or boating type antifreeze you use, get the one that goes down to minus 50 degrees Fahrenheit. It sometimes gets crazy cold here in Ohio, and you don't want to risk your plumbing joints and water lines, even though most are PEX and the water lines can expand before they burst. The joints between the various pieces of PEX are not near as forgiving. A little bit of water on them and they will crack. Winterization continuing. Others recommend the use of "I will use air to blow out my lines" instead method. I don't particularly care for that method, as I don't care to push air from some tank where I have no idea what's in it, rust, dirt, etc. So I stick with the pink stuff antifreeze method instead. It's worked for me for the last 16 years. I'm keeping it. The rest of the prep work and steps can be found in the book on Chapter 15, Section 8 of the RVing for Newbies book. Wastewater systems. Let's talk about the black tank. Contents are from the toilet, which would consist of number 1, number 2, also known as pee and poop, toilet paper, black tank chemicals, and nothing else. No feminine hygiene products, no paper towels, no food, no trash, no baby wipes, no antibacterial wipes, and no diapers. Always use more water when flushing than you think you'll need. More water is better when it comes to the black tank. Poop pyramid. The dreaded poop pyramid. When you don't use enough water to flush the poop, it could land in the bottom of the tank and begins to form a pyramid and begins to rise up towards the toilet. Toilet paper. This tends to be a holy war. It really does. People will continually argue about whether toilet paper should go into the black tank or whether it should be thrown away in the trash. You will see people on both sides of the fence about it. My take is, yep, it goes in the toilet and into the black tank. Although some will argue to the death that toilet paper should only go in the trash because you risk plugging up the sensors, etc. I look at it as I bought my RV, which has a bathroom, and I will use it for that. It is evidently your choice on how you want to use it as to whether you want to put toilet paper in through the toilet into the black tank or not. Poop. Some people say they will never poop in their RV since they believe it can and possibly will cause the sensors to get mucked up and not work correctly. That being said, you can tell when the black tank is full. When you flush the toilet and it makes a burping sound or bubbles appear in the toilet when you press the valve to flush, it is then time to dump the black tank. Wastewater systems, your gray tank. Contents are from the shower, the kitchen sink, the bathroom sink, sometimes, but you could also find out the bathroom sink is sometimes plumbed to the black tank and sometimes it's plumbed to the gray tank. It goes back to way back in lesson 1 where we talked about it depends. And it truly depends on how they plumbed it in your RV. You might have more than one gray tank. The kitchen sink might go into a second gray tank called the galley tank. Keep in mind, it could have its own drain and pull valve to drain it. The most important thing to keep in mind for the gray tank is to put the least amount of food particles possible down the kitchen sink. Scrape those plates well before washing them. And last but not least, the tank usually fills up quicker than the black tank does, so expect to have to empty the gray tank more often. Wastewater systems. Let's talk about dumping the tanks. One of the least happy things people have to do when they're RVing. Let's talk about the preliminary steps. Find out, where are your tank caps? Inventory where they all are. You could have more than one. You could have them on the other side of your RV. You just need to walk around and figure out where they all are after you've gotten your RV. Do you have more than one? The galley tank might have its own. Check underneath all around the RV to make sure. Testing the cap. If you have more than one, make sure you test all of them. Do the caps keep stuff from leaking out? Leave a cap on. Get a bucket that will fit underneath. Open the gray valve very quickly. Open and close it. Did anything leak from the cap? If so, you should consider getting a new cap and getting it replaced. Clothing. Do you need gloves, boots, a wetsuit? It is obviously your call. I always use rubber gloves and occasionally remember to put the overshoes on before dumping, keeping in mind not everyone is as sanitary as you, and you do not want to get sick from somebody else's, quote, solids, unquote, right? And a tip, when you're hooked up at a full hookup site, don't leave the valves to drain the tanks open. One of the worst things you could end up with is the poop pyramid. Wastewater systems, dumping tanks. It's dumping time. Put on your protective equipment or not, entirely up to you. Look for your valves that will need to be pulled. Make sure they're all pushed in. Put your small bucket underneath where the cap is to catch anything that might have been leaking through the valves. Remove the cap. Hook up your sewer hose to your RV and the hookup at your campsite or at the dump station if you're at a dump station and didn't have a full hookup. Here is a picture of a tool that I use to help with removing and attaching the sewer hose. All right, you can find this on the store part of my website, store.rvingfornewbies.com. This is for those of us who have a hard time turning and putting on the sewer hose. This can make things easier when attaching to the RV. Also, I open the gray for just a few seconds once everything is hooked up. Why? You do this to get some liquid in the sewer hose, which will help the black stuff move along on the way to the place where our final destination is. Dumping tanks. Let's talk about all the things you need to do. Number one, let's pull the black tank valve to dump that tank. Empty. How do you know? There are a couple of ways. You could purchase a clear elbow to attach to the end of your sewer connection so you can see when it's done, which grosses some people out seeing poop coming out of the black tank. You can always listen to when it sounds like it has stopped. Close the black tank valve. Open the gray tank valve and let it empty. Once it's done, you can then close the gray tank valve. Tricky parts. Keeping the hose in the sewer, quote, whole, unquote, while dumping. There is a device called Dump Buddy, which will help ensure the hose stays where it's supposed to, or you can use a rock, you can use a sandbag, whatever. You just don't want that bad boy popping out of there and having stuff spew all over the place. Now, you want to get as much of the stuff sitting in the hose to the sewer as possible. You can use a sewer hose slanted device to help you keep that part of the hose near the RV higher, which helps it on a downward slope. You can also start at the end of the sewer hose near the RV, lift it up, and walk towards the sewer, helping all the rest of the liquid along